I'm male 20. My father, male 50, has, in my opinion, been a terrible dad to me ever since he got remarried. His stepson, Chad, male 18, has completely stolen all of his affection and is just an exhausting person to be around. Chad is an obnoxious know it all and has been constantly sheltered from how the real world works. My dad and stepmom come from very different financial backgrounds, and because of that, Chad has a very different upbringing compared to me. My mom passed away when I was 8, and dad had to still keep working to bring food to the table. That means I learned to take care of myself and the house pretty quickly. When I was 14, dad got remarried to Maya, female 55, who had been divorced from Chad's father for a while. Since Chad's real dad was also in the picture, I guess my father tried super hard to get into his stepson's good books, and I ended up feeling quite neglected. I also know that dad married Maya partly because of the financial comfort she brought. She is very well off. Although that's not the only reason, and that meant that he considered it important to favor Chad. I guess it was insurance that he could remain in this comfortable relationship for a long time. But as I said before, Chad is so spoiled and sheltered that he doesn't even know how to do basic things. Like Maya's family considers a live-in maid normal, and Chad doesn't know how to run a washing machine or do dishes. Hell, he doesn't even fold his damn clothes. They're just delivered to his closet by the housekeeper. Of course, I fully recognize that he isn't bad just because he was spoiled, but again, as I said, he acts like a know-it-all, is constantly degrading me and my lack of culture, and my dad seems to just overlook all of it. Of course, it's not just Chad that made remarriage tough for me. The shift in living conditions, Maya's presence, and shifting into a different locality also played a part. But this dude was a big barrier, I won't lie. As I got older, my relationship with Maya improved. But Dad and Chad got even more alienated from me. Things were even weirder when I started dating my girlfriend, Jasmine, 19. She was from our old neighborhood, and for some reason, Dad took offense to that. He thought she was with me because I was now wealthy. First off, it was all Maya's money. I don't know how he feels so entitled to it. And also, didn't appreciate the fact that I didn't want to go to a super expensive or fancy college. My friend and I had started work on an online DTC business, and things were honestly picking up pace quite fast. And that was my passion. I wanted to do a quick diploma course or degree in accounting, business, and then apply those skills to our brand. But I faced a lot of resistance from Dad. Maya, on the other hand, was fully in support of my idea and even invested in our business through her firm, which sounds a little like nepotism, but she has genuine faith in the idea. I ended up moving out of the house to be more independent, and things just went up and up from there. Despite not going to college, I was making tons of money and expanding the business. My learning came from networking, talking to people, and yeah, sometimes losing money on bad ideas. A curveball came when Jasmine and I got pregnant, and it was a very emotionally taxing period of my life. Chad, being a douche, simply said that I was stupid for getting her pregnant and said that it was expected of me. After that point, I decided that Chad would only see me and my girlfriend at family events, and he wasn't welcome at our home. The ironic thing is, this kid is going to go to a fancy college and spend hundreds of thousands of dollars while I'm making hundreds of thousands of dollars, so. Anyways, Jasmine and I both decided to keep the baby as we could manage financially and wanted to start a family together. However, we didn't get married at that precise moment because a shotgun wedding wasn't exactly in our books. Haha. My baby girl, Samantha, is a year old now, and we're functioning well as a family unit. Business is booming, and my stepmom has gotten a massive ROI. Since things were looking up, Jasmine and I decided to get married. For personal reasons, we had also refrained from baptizing Samantha until after our wedding. And with baptism came the question of choosing a godfather. Jasmine suggested her brother, and I agreed since he is a good man. But when I told my family about it, my dad said it was unfair to us. When I asked him what he meant, he ranted, "You've systematically cut me and Chad out of your life, and now you're not even going to make one of us your kid's godfather? Don't you think Chad deserves to have that place in his niece's life? Besides, he's a much safer person to keep as a godfather. You know, if something happens to you, he would create a much better environment for your daughter to grow up in." Ugh, this was just his biases about Jasmine and where she came from, coming out differently. I just hate how we were also from the same place as Jasmine and are also good people, but he's so inherently distrustful of others that he can't extend that same courtesy to other people who are in our situation. At this point, I was done with his complete refusal to accept the differences between me and Jasmine, that I sighed and said, "Dad, if you keep up like this, I don't even think you want to come to the wedding. All of Jasmine's family will be there, right? And you talk about them like this? If that's the case, and if you keep telling me who's allowed to be the godparent to my child, you aren't invited." I guess he thought I was joking because even though he dropped it at that moment, he brought up the same thing literally on the same day. I reminded him about what I had said, and he had a fit about how this was just the next step I was taking to cut him out. Maya was there too, and she was on my side. Chad wasn't even at home. He's busy in college, and to be honest, I don't even think he cares about being his niece's godfather. So I don't get why Dad is so bent out of shape about this. I ended up leaving my parents' house in a huff and went back home and vented to Jasmine about all of this. She was deeply hurt by the fact that her future father-in-law is being so judgmental and doesn't think that I am the AH for disinviting him from the wedding. However, other members of the family say that Dad was just airing his concerns and I acted harshly. Honestly, apart from my stepmom, the rest of them are just arbitrarily on Dad's side and are trying to justify his bad behavior by saying he was just looking out for me. WIBTA if I stay true to what I said and don't let Dad be a part of my wedding? Maya is invited, and if Chad wants to come, he can. Hasn't even responded to the RSVP as of now. Update 1. After discussing this with a lot of people, I have decided to go with my gut and keep Dad out of my wedding. Ever since I moved out, I have interacted more with Jasmine's family than mine, honestly. That comes from the fact that they want to chip in and have values. I guess that everyone from my side of the family is just so used to things being done for them that instead of coming by to babysit, they prefer to hire a nanny for me. But again, I don't want to shame that. I just think that it's made me interact more with my in-laws, and that makes me more comfortable having my brother-in-law as Samantha's godfather. My dad isn't willing to apologize, and from what I've heard from Maya, he's being a bit of a man-child about the whole situation. I really want him to know that this isn't about class, and if he can shed his prejudices, I would hang out with him a lot more, but he's not talking to me right now. Maya told me that she does try and explain my point of view to him, but it doesn't seem to be getting across. The wedding is in 2 months, so I hope by then both of us calm down and I can see my dad at my wedding. Although if he hasn't changed by then, he ain't coming. Update 2. Contact has been established with Dad. Weird way to put it, but yeah. He reached out to me and asked if he could come over to my house for a while. I was hesitant, but Maya texted me saying, "Please give it a shot." So I obliged after taking permission from Jasmine. My girlfriend was amazing to Dad, and he really changed his opinions in a short period. I guess this was the first time he was interacting with Jasmine personally, and we tried to set up a barbecue as well, where more of Jasmine's family members came by. On Sunday, before he left, Dad went down to the living room and personally apologized to my fiancée for trying to stop her brother from being Samantha's godfather. He also said that he's spoken to Chad about visiting this weekend, but he said he was busy with exams. I guess that escalated into a fight, which ended up souring their relationship a little bit. At the end of the day, I'm happy that we were able to sort things out and that my family will be a complete unit when I get married. I guess except for Chad, but if he's not interested, I don't care. Update 3. I'm now a married man, and Samantha has been baptized with her uncle as her godfather. Things are only looking up from now on, and I'm excited to share my future with Jasmine and Samantha. Maya and Dad were both at the wedding, and they meshed well with everyone there. It wasn't awkward at all like I feared. NTA, this is just classism, and it's so weird to see it from someone who came out of the same neighborhood. NTA, I feel like your dad got influenced by the change in his lifestyle. Honestly, if I was mayor, I would kick him to the curb for the kind of stuff he says. Your stepmom seems to be the one who earned the money, and that's why she's not so influenced by it, unlike Chad and your dad. Next story. I, male, 36, am absolutely not what you would call a handy kind of guy. I can build an IKEA flat pack, and I can follow a YouTube tutorial to find out how to declog my washing machine, but I don't have any, what my father-in-law, male, 60, would call worthwhile skills. I have to give him the credit that he's due and say that he's knowledgeable about plumbing, joinery, and electrics. He has often helped me and my wife with matters in our home, a leaky pipe, some plastering work, etc. And we have always been grateful and appreciative of his efforts. My skills are more IT based. I work in this field for a living, which means I often get saddled with old chestnuts such as, can you fix the printer? Or the internet isn't working. To me, these are simple issues to fix. But he's very IT illiterate. I never make a big deal about this because it's the least I can do to repay his help. However, he spares no opportunity whatsoever to take shots at my lack of worthwhile skills. He'll say, often in front of the family and friends, that I'm not a real man or that I'd be useless in an emergency, that sort of thing. Because he does a lot of stuff that I generally suck at, I bite my tongue and don't say anything to him. This week changed that. We bought my daughter this massive climbing frame swing set for her birthday. My wife and I were able to assemble most of it, but the last few bits, as well as anchoring it to the ground, were giving us issues. My brother happened to stop by to visit, so he helped. But my wife also phoned father-in-law to come and help. We got the job done, but again, the commentary continued, which was especially insulting considering my brother was there. Yesterday, we were up visiting him. I was there, as was my wife, his wife, and my wife's brother and his wife. He asked me if I could look at his laptop, as he had some sort of virus. When I fired it up, it was one of those ransomware programs. Camera was showing the webcam feed on a fake police website. I was able to get his computer somewhat back to normal after a while, which took longer than he'd have liked, according to his comments. While I was bringing it back, he kept badgering me about what had caused the virus. A peruse through his internet history revealed a lot of porn. Nothing particularly embarrassing, but probably information that he wouldn't have wanted to be shared. It was out of my mouth before I had even finished processing the thought. Loads of these porn websites have a lot of viruses and dodgy stuff. I'll get you a membership from my Norton account. You could have cut the tension with a knife. His wife looked super angry, and sister-in-law stifled a laugh. We left shortly after that, but on the way out we heard the two of them arguing. My wife gave me both barrels in the car, but I said, he is always giving me hassle and I keep my mouth shut. Things have been frosty ever since, and I wonder if I went too far. AITA? NTA, but your wife and her dad are. If someone in my family was speaking to my husband like that, I would have shut that ish down immediately. They can treat you with respect or they can kick rocks. You and your wife need to have a talk and then establish boundaries with her parents. NTA, what your father in law is doing is engaging in sadly typical toxic masculinity. That not a real man nonsense is extremely hurtful. I know I had a lot of it directed at me back in my early years. Your wife should have your back, not his. That she just sits there and is okay with him impugning your masculinity, yet giving you shit for your remark is just wrong. Besides, what you said was really, really funny. 2 thumbs up for cracking me up. Next story. My sister, 24, female, got married last week. Her wedding was very well planned out. We received invitations 6 months before, and my sister poured about $10,000 into this wedding, and that's without catering costs added. She also invited over 100 people. It was an ethnic wedding, so there were some friends of friends. The ceremony was beautiful. There were so many pictures taken. Everyone was having a great time. I dream of eating the food I ate there just once again in my life. Even the rehearsal dinner a week before was magical. The issue came after my sister and her husband said, I do. It was the reception. The cake was cut and everything was great. They were laughing and having a good time, and then they went back up and said their speeches. Her husband's speech was touching with a humorous twist. When it came time for her to say hers, however, things went south. She started off great, making a few jokes about a few family members, nothing harmful. But then it got to me. She made a joke about considering having a dry wedding because I was such an addict. To clarify, I have struggled with alcohol addiction and she is well aware. She was never really supportive of my recovery journey because she always saw me as an addict. My sister has this idea that once you struggle with an addiction, you go crazy and lose control if you get the chance again. No matter if you recover or not, in her eyes, you're always an addict. Everyone laughed and I felt humiliated. She was laughing too and then continued. I didn't want to interrupt her, so I just waited. I felt like crying and screaming at the same time. It was a rage, yet sadness I'd never experienced before. After her speech, I spoke up. I brought her somewhere private. I told her that I didn't appreciate her joke, that it wasn't funny, and that I felt she humiliated me. She got so angry and started yelling things like, I have a whole wedding waiting for me back there. Who do you think you are to bring me here and waste my time? And it's just a joke. Don't be so pissy. She accused me of ruining her wedding and started screaming. She left, back to the ceremony, and I just stood there. Once I came back, everyone was staring at me, and my sister was sobbing in my dad's arms. My dad proceeded to yell at me, telling me I ruined my sister's wedding and made a scene. I yelled back, and when I noticed a lot of people were watching, I got angry and left. Now all of my family's mad at me, and they won't stop sending me texts telling me I should apologize. I don't want to. AITA? Edit. Based on the comments, I would like to clarify a few things. I think I may be the a-hole because once I left and saw my dad, he started yelling at me and I yelled back. I feel that if I just left, I wouldn't have caused a scene. I also would like to say this is not the first time my sister has made a distasteful comment about my addiction struggles, and my parents excuse her every time. They tell me they don't agree with her, but I should put up with her and understand her. Thank you. Edit 2. For one, I would like to thank everyone for the kind words, upvotes, and comments. Your words have given me a lot of peace because I know that someone out there doesn't see me as a bad person. However, I made this edit to offer more information based on the comment I saw and comments like it that I may not have seen. When I was struggling with an addiction, I wasn't living in the same city as any of my family, which is part of why I started drinking in the first place. I just moved to a new city far from all my family, so I turned to the only thing that helped me feel better, or at least feel less. My family were not victims of my addiction. They didn't even know what I was going through. To them, I disappeared for a bit and then reemerged with a wonderful new skill under my belt: sobriety. Thank you. NTA, you made sure to have expressed your feelings regarding the cruel joke in a way that would not make a scene. She was the one who decided to act out in public. Perspective is a funny thing. Her joke caused drama, but you handled the response privately. Her reaction to that was public, also known as she ruined her own wedding. NTA, bravo for being so classy and strong. Very impressive. Stay tuned for more stories from our girl relationships.